You are significant. You have seeds of greatness inside of you. You are not on accident. You are on purpose. You are here for a very divine, special purpose. And we are going to talk in this podcast about evidence that you are significant. I'm here with my new friend, Natalie, and I'm so excited for her to share her story with you today. And I met her at Beyond the Rank Live. And when I heard her story there, I knew that she needed to come and be a guest on You Are Significant. I want you to hear this story. It is an impactful, important story to hear. And I'm thankful, Natalie, for your courage to share it. Welcome to You Are Significant.
Thank you so much, Darlene. I am honored to be here and I appreciate the opportunity to share our story. It's not an easy story to share, but it is necessary. Someone out there needs to hear this. Mm-hmm. So if we could reach one or two people with what we've been through, it doesn't make it worth it, but it gives us a little bit of purpose.
Yes, I agree.
So I don't know. Oh, wow. Where do I start? So start with Jonny. My husband and I have 6 children altogether. And our son, Jonathan, he was my heart. If I can get through this without crying, it'll be really good. Jonny was always special and super smart and vibrant, but he was also a lot. Couldn't figure out why, he wouldn't wear certain things, he wouldn't eat certain things, we couldn't keep a handle on him. So by the time he was 4, he was diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum with a comorbidity of severe ADHD, which made it hard to diagnose the autism because the ADHD was so bad. But we got him the help that he needed. He had behavioral therapists that were wonderful. He had support in school. And even through all of his challenges, he was just the happiest little boy. He was always smiling and he was so kind to everybody. He loved everybody. And all he ever wanted to do was make friends and play. So of course, anytime you have a child that's a little bit different in the school system, the cruelty starts. And that started for him pretty young. But when he was younger, it was a little different. He had a behavioral therapist in school, and so she kind of shielded him from certain things. It wasn't as a parent, how cool the kids could be. He got into 8th grade. So of course, COVID came. And children were being cybered and homeschooled, and that was the case with him. He was cyber schooled for 2 years and went to a new school district. We moved. So he starts 8th grade and he goes into the school, and pretty much starting from day one, he was mercilessly bullied. He, being high functioning on the spectrum, he was mainstreamed. And so basically what that means is he's in all of the regular classes. He didn't have any, special classes or anything like that. He was able to manage the work with a few accommodations. He did have an IEP. He was also an athlete. So he wanted to be on all of the sports teams. He ran cross country, he wrestled, played football, and he was also a young Marine. So he was very athletic and very busy. And he loved all of those things. But in addition to the school bullying, there was sports bullying. He could never escape the cruelty, and it was bad. It was bad. There were physical altercations. The verbal abuse was pretty much daily from multiple, kids. When I tried to get him to quit. I tried to get him to leave school. I didn't know what else to do. Went to the school district, I told the coaches, I told the teachers, somebody needs to do something. Um, certainly moving forward, it continued into ninth grade. Um, and I won't get into everything because it's just, we don't have enough time and it's too hard. Um, but right before Thanksgiving of last year, I went into the school, met with the principal, athletic director, superintendent, um, and none of them knew about the bullying. They had no reports from teachers or coaches. Nothing had gone up the chain. And as a parent, I thought I was doing the right thing, going to the coach, telling the teacher, and it wasn't the right thing because it wasn't even sent up the chain. Everything was brushed under the rug. And he at that point was in such a bad way. He just, he was becoming despondent. So anyway, the kids go on Thanksgiving break, and we had a wonderful weekend. December 3rd, we went to a wedding. He was in such a good mood. He was so happy. We had a great, great time. The morning of December 4th, I get up super early. And I came downstairs and I made my coffee, and I could hear our dog scratching at his door upstairs. She slept in his room. And I thought, okay, that's weird. he's not letting her out. Normally he would get up. And I walk upstairs and I could see that the light was on in his room. And I let the dog out and I peeked inside and he wasn't in his room. I ran into the garage. I ran outside. I'm thinking, where could he have gone? I run back downstairs and I looked at the basement door and I could see a light, that the basement light was on. And I thought maybe he went down for an early morning workout because the weight bench was down there. And I walked downstairs and I found him deceased. He had taken his life at some point during the night.
Wow. I'm so sorry, Natalie.
I know that this is hard to talk about, and I know that this is hard for people to hear.
Yeah.
And I apologize if this triggers anyone or upsets anybody, but it's so important because it didn't have to happen. It just didn't have to happen. I'm needless to say, the day was a blur. I don't remember much of what happened. I remember people in and out of the house, and the police and the coroner, and it was devastating. It was just devastating. And for days after, all I could hear in my head was the sound of my own voice scream. Extremely traumatic experience that I don't think I will ever really recover from. I don't think you can recover from something like that. But you have to make arrangements and you have to follow protocol. You need to have the funeral, and these things have to happen.
Right.
I vaguely remember us making the funeral arrangements. But there was a moment that really hit me, and I think that this is where prayers and God intervened. I received a phone call from the superintendent of the school, and she gave her condolences, and she said, we have many students and staff that are wondering if they could come to the funeral. And at that point, I didn't know who the students would be. I didn't know who the staff would be. I wasn't going to sit there and take a list of names. But something in my spirit just said, let them.
Mm.
I thought, okay. I said, that's fine. It's okay. If people want to come, they're welcome to come. Um, and I remember all of the people walking through. I mean, there was so many people. It's so overwhelming to stand there in your grief, like you're at a receiving line. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just a very strange experience. And I remember standing there, and I wasn't even gauging who was coming through at that point. Um, but it was, part of it was beautiful because I would see faces that I hadn't seen in so long, like Johnny's first grade teacher. We hadn't seen him in 7 years, and he was there, and other teachers and students that he had gone to school with previously. And, that was so sweet. Like, they really remembered him and wanted to be there. Um, and I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, a man comes, well, two men come, and they stand in front of me. And I look up, and it was his football coach, the coach that I reported multiple instances to, the coach that didn't do anything.
Hmm. Wow.
And like, my whole body I just went stiff. And I'm standing in church, and this man is standing between me and my son's casket.
Hmm.
And there was something in me. And again, that prompting from the Spirit, you just know to listen. And all I heard was, look at him. And I looked at him, and I really looked at him, and he was shaking. I could see his hands shaking. I could see the tears in his eyes. I could see his face. And I knew that he knew.
Hmm.
I knew that he knew. And he looked at me, and he said, I'm so sorry. I wish I had more time with him.
Yeah.
In your flesh, I wanted to push him, like, how dare you? How could you come here? But in my spirit, that wasn't to be. And I shook his hand, and I said, thank you for coming, Johnny. I would have really liked that.
Yeah.
I can't. Everybody asks me, why aren't you angry? Because I can't live like that. I can't live with anger and vindictiveness. And yes, I can seek justice, but it is not my place to seek vengeance.
Right.
And so,
Wow.
it's a daily struggle, because sometimes I do want to be angry and I want to lash out, and I do. And I really have to calm myself and settle my spirit, so to speak, so that I don't do that, because that will solve nothing. And other parents every day across this country are feeling what I'm feeling, or they will feel what I feel. And I have to bring some kind of purpose to this pain, because what is it for?
Yeah.
It's just to be in pain. Well,
Yeah.
that's nothing. What is that teaching my children, the children that I have left? The kids around me, I can't do that. And it's just, it's a God thing every day, because I don't know how else I could function or even want to get out of bed to the most devastating thing a parent can experience.
Yeah.
Like this at the event, where you feel every day like a piece of your soul has been ripped from your body. And you know that you're never going to get that back, and nothing will ever fill that. And you have to learn how to live with that pain every day. But you can learn. You can. You have to allow yourself to be in a place where you are, filled with something else, where there is a supernatural strength that's given to you because it is possible. It's not fun. And yes,
Right.
it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
But what other choice do we have? I will tell you. And this is us, it's a strange thing. So this happened in December, and Jonny was a singer. Oh, he loved to sing. He was the karaoke king. He loved to sing, but he loved, Frank Sinatra and all the old crooners. And we used to sing in the car together. And I found a song, and I was like, I bet you would sound great, singing this for Christmas. And we were talking about him singing it at, Christmas Eve. And it was Mary, Did You Know?
Oh, wow. That's such a beautiful song.
Beautiful song. But I look back, it was almost prophetic,
Mm,
you know. And I just kept thinking, I, I didn't know. She didn't know. We don't know, you know.
we don't know.
And again I think of that. I can do this. I could show my kids strength. I can do this. Other people have done it before me. People will do it after me. That is what I do with this that will really be his legacy.
Wow. So true. So true, Natalie. And I just think about the moment when the coach was standing there and you wanted to push him, but you decided because of your spirit and walking in the spirit that no, I'm going to tell him thank you for coming. I'm glad that you came. Jonny would have liked that. And just what an example of forgiveness. It forgiveness, and we talk about that on this podcast, that forgiveness doesn't mean what someone did was right. It doesn't mean that God forgave them. It just sets you free. It sets you free from carrying around bitterness, resentment, and it also shows compassion, that you had compassion, that maybe he just really didn't know what else to do. We don't know. And we don't have to get inside his head. You don't have to waste your energy and your time on that mission. Instead, you've set about to the purpose of sharing your son's story so that other parents and other people in similar circumstances can feel empowered, and maybe they will know more of what to do. And also the self forgiveness that your story is showing, because even in not knowing more of what to do yourself, you did the best you could with what you knew. And that's what we do as parents. We do the best that we can with what we know. And sometimes we find out that that wasn't good enough, in one sense. Like, I was sharing with Natalie that I've gone through some hard things with my daughters this week. And I've never had 20 something year old daughters before, and I'm making mistakes. I'm making mistakes, and some of them I can't change. I can't go back and undo my mistakes. And yet, in parenting, we have to forgive ourselves. We have to say, you know what? I did the best that I could at the time. And also letting our children own their own pain. And that's so hard to do in a situation where a child takes their life. But understanding that we can't read our children's mind, that we do the best we can to see the signs and to go on the information that we have. And communication is so important. And to just ask our children, ask that, most of us are a child of someone. Maybe our parents are living or they're not. I mean, I guess all of us are a child of someone, but maybe our parents are living or they're not. And so just to ask children, adult children that might be listening to this podcast, communicate with your parents, because they can't read your mind. They can't know what you need, what pain you're in, what your expectations are that may be going unmet. And we know Jonny was autistic, and so that brings a whole different set of challenges. And we have a lot of children that have become teens that are aging into adulthood that have autism. And some are diagnosed and some are not. And what I have found in trying to help some of them is that what's available for autistic adults is very small compared to what is available for young children. And as they get older, it's, even it becomes less and less what's available. There needs to be a lot of improvement, or a lot of, what's the word, innovation for our children who are autistic,
Yes.
and still need a lot of help and opportunity. They need hope just like we do, and providing opportunities to them is a way that folks can help that listen to this podcast.
I think that, especially, with higher functioning kids on the spectrum, when people say autistic, you have a certain, most people think of nonverbal, can't take care of themselves, but the majority of autistic people are higher functioning.
Yes.
And the expectation for those people is that they conform to society. They do
Mm,
everything they can to be normal and fit in. We're not teaching young children and teenagers, anti-bullying posters in the school are not working. We're not
mm-hmm,
setting an example, and we're not teaching them to show kindness and compassion and give help, as opposed to, making fun of somebody because they're different.
mm-hmm,
The expectation is, well, you're different, so you need to conform. You need to be normal. There has to be somewhere to meet in the middle.
mm-hmm.
It has to be a compromise of sorts, because, kids on the spectrum, adults on the spectrum, they're not doing it on purpose.
Right.
Everything that they could, most likely, to be able to fit the standard of society, and they just can't. But they
Mm-hmm,
have other strengths and gifts that need to be nurtured. And they can't be nurtured if their mental health is damaged by the cruelty of the world. We're missing an opportunity to really cultivate these, you know, especially the teenagers. They are capable of going out and working. They are capable of having full lives. We need to give them the tools and a safe space to be able to grow, because they will be valued members of society.
Yes, they often have just unbelievable gifts,
Yes.
that they have gifted areas that are beyond the
Yes.
normal, that they can serve in, they can
Yes.
use their talent in and benefit society. And
Yeah.
so I agree. The children and teens on the spectrum that I've worked with in our ministry, um, have unbelievable gifts, and they need support, and they need a lot of understanding, because ODD often goes with the obstinance defiance disorder. They see patterns, and they feel so strongly about what they see that we can't see with our typical brains, that those processes of improvement that they're able to figure out, um, they feel passionate that it should be done that way. And so compliance sometimes is a challenge with teen slash adults that are on the spectrum. And That's an area that I would like to see improvement in as well. That there be that adults working with those on the spectrum would look for what are their talents and take extra time to listen and ask them, what can we do to accommodate you? What can we do to, to be creative, to be willing to get out of the box,
Yeah,
um, and be willing to allow them to utilize their gifts.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And that's part of, when my husband and I were thinking, what can we do? There's got to be something that we can do. And, we decided to form Johnny's Flight. Jonathan wanted to be a pilot in the Air Force. He was a walking encyclopedia of planes. He could tell you everything you ever wanted to know about them and didn't want to know about them. But he had certain challenges that would have prohibited him from that. He gave up his IEP in school. He went off of medication. It had been a couple of years since he was off medication, and I will tell you that he did a million times better off the medication than on the medication. But there are certain conditions that he needed to meet, and so he did those, and they were challenging, but that was his dream. He
Mhm.
didn't want to do anything. You said to him, "What else do you want to do?" Nothing. Plan B though. Let's talk about that. And so, part of our organization, we're going to be awarding scholarships to young people that are active in their communities, do community service, do well in school. We'll go through an application process and we'll award them scholarships for flight school if it is their dream to become a pilot. So
Wow,
that's
that's so cool.
that's part of it. Um, and then we'll be setting up summer camps for kids on the spectrum that also have a passion for aviation, but may be too far down on the spectrum to ever be able to fly because they can do other things. Engineering, aeronautics, mathematics. There's so many things that they can do in that field that they might not even realize. And so we'll bring in teachers and pilots and, just give them a great experience and a safe space to cultivate those passions, and hopefully someday they can go out and they can be active members of that field and have a fulfilling life and something that they really wanted to do. Um, so there's that. We have a lot going on, and then we are obviously anti-bullying is going to be a focal point of everything that we're doing. We're currently working on legislation with our local senator, and it is in the final touches of being drafted and looked over by their legal team, and that should be going to a Senate committee soon.
Fabulous.
Um,
That's wonderful.
legislation is to hold the schools more accountable for not reporting incidents, for not following their own guidelines, their own handbook.
Mm-hmm.
This happens and they don't report it. No one's accountable right now. And our goal is not to get teachers in trouble or coaches in trouble. We don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
We want them to know this is so important. This is why you have to. And I really feel like once they fully understand, they will.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of the book,
Creating a protocol that they can follow, that when something is reported, they
right?
know what to do now.
Well, and I think they know what to do, but there's never really been any push to do it. There's never been,
Mm,
well, if you don't do this, and teachers want to protect their students all around. And sometimes we look at kids and they're like, oh, kids are being kids, so I really need to make a big deal of this.
mm-hmm.
That may have been the old way to look at it, but we're getting to a point where these kids are it's so bad now they
Mm,
can't allow it anymore. And so again, I'm not looking to get anyone in trouble, but I want them to be aware
mm-hmm.
that there need to be consequences for not doing it, because otherwise the consequences fall on the parents and the children, and we can't
Yeah.
do this anymore. it's
No.
this is an epidemic. Every time you turn on the news lately, there's another story of a similar case. And we have to, as parents, as humans, as
Yes.
human beings, I don't care if you're a parent or not, you are
Yeah.
a human being, you should care.
Yes.
Absolutely care about this. This is just something that can be prevented. This is not like an illness. This is 100% preventable.
Mhm.
All fight together to
Mhm.
change.
Yeah.
So,
I agree. I'm so glad that that it's being pushed through to the Senate and real change is happening right now.
me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be a long road, and the government and politics is always fun to navigate through. But I think
Mhm.
this will be a bipartisan issue. That's what
Mhm.
we're doing, is bipartisan, and they all come together and they push this through because it's time.
It's time. Yes. How else can people help?
Um, so I think that, um, well, if you'd like, I can send you the link for, the Facebook and Instagram page,
Mhm.
follow along. We're going to be posting resources, things that you can do in, your own areas. I think sending your children to school with the message of kindness, if your kids are old enough to hear it, tell them,
Mhm.
let them watch.
Mhm.
I think it's so bad right now. We really need to be extreme with our kids.
Mhm.
And maybe them seeing a mother who lost their child will make them think about that kid in the corner.
Mhm.
I I'm gonna I'm gonna go be nice to him today. Or her.
Mhm.
Kid that comes into school. Just it might give them a little push then. Not that kids aren't kind, but sometimes they don't realize what's going on around them
Yeah, they don't realize how what they're doing is affecting someone else
or what they're not doing.
or what they're not doing.
How often are we so busy in our own head or with our own friends and we don't notice the kids that are being picked on?
Mhm.
They're not doing the picking on, so why would, but they can still do something.
Mhm. Yeah, stand up for that one that's being picked on and ask that bully to stop.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes just being someone's friend and being kind and noticing the kids that are sitting by themselves, or sometimes that's enough.
Yeah. And I think to pray about this, to, ask God to show us who is it that needs more love and more kindness and more attention, and what can I do to help? Pray for wisdom and pray over our children to have wisdom as they go to school, to notice who they can help. Even a child that's being bullied, my grandson has had some things go on, but he is so kind. And because he has had some things happen, then he notices other people that he can help. And so I think, you know, praying that our kids, talking with them and then praying for them is so important.
It is so important. It really is.
And then you have a GoFundMe account going for people to donate for the scholarships.
Yes, yes, for all of the programs. Yeah, I didn't realize how much fundraising was involved in doing something like this. So, yes, there is a GoFundMe, and I can send you the link if you wanted to.
Yes, I'll attach all of the links to help out
That would
to the show notes here. So
we would
those who want
our
to help can.
yeah, our dream is to take this national. We absolutely want to impact as many people as possible. It is not an isolated incident. There are people all over the country going through this.
Mhm.
We want to be out there. I want to go into schools. I
Mhm.
want to stand up in front of teachers and coaches and students. And I want to share with them, and I want to tell them what could happen. But they have the power.
Mhm.
They have the power to create real change. And oh, to be able to see that,
Yeah. Yes.
that
Natalie, thank you so much for your courage and for your strength and for coming and sharing today with us. And definitely, if you're listening to this podcast and want Natalie to come and speak and share with your school or your
church,
community, your church, yes, then please reach out to Natalie. I will put in the notes how to connect with her. And Natalie, just thank you again. And our thoughts and our prayers are with you and your family and your mission.
thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to You Are Significant. Please leave us a review. Please leave comments, give us a like, and share this out. We appreciate you here on You Are Significant, and I cannot wait till next time to spend time with you.